In the quiet hour before dawn, when the world still rested beneath its soft blanket of darkness, a meadow waited for the first, faint breath of morning. The light came slowly here. It always did, as though the sunrise itself wished not to disturb the stillness that lived among the flowers and grass. A pale blue shimmer touched the horizon. Soft, gentle, unhurried. Dew clung to every blade of grass, each droplet holding a tiny glimmer of light, like stars that had fallen during the night and decided to rest here just a little while longer. And moving quietly through this peaceful place was Persephone. Her footsteps were soft, almost weightless, as though the earth itself softened beneath her simply because she walked upon it. Her dress drifted behind her in a slow, fluid motion, a pale ribbon of light following gently with the breeze. She paused beside a cluster of violets. Their petals trembled lightly, still cool with morning dew. Persephone touched one, just with the tip of her finger, and the flower responded as though it recognized her. Here, among these meadows, she was not a distant goddess. She was a quiet companion to the earth, a gentle presence that made the world around her breathe easier. A breeze rolled softly across the meadow. Warm, soft, carrying the faint scent of honey and fresh earth. Nothing hurried here. Nothing pushed forward. Everything unfolded at the patient rhythm of nature itself. Persephone lifted her face toward the slowly brightening sky. Her expression was calm, almost reflective, as though she carried within her the memory of every dawn that had ever touched this land. Birds shifted in the distant branches, their soft movements blending naturally into the quiet morning. No sudden song, just gentle murmurs that seemed to rise at the perfect moment. She stepped forward. The hem of her dress glided across the grass, and as she walked, new blossoms rose in her wake. Tiny buds, slowly unfurling, drawn toward her warmth. For Persephone was not only the daughter of Demeter. She was the quiet pulse of spring, a subtle awakening that arrived gently, like sunlight blooming across a still horizon. Where she walked, the earth followed. Deep beneath the soil, beneath stone and shadow, another presence felt her movement. Hades was still, immersed in the calm depths of his realm when the sensation reached him. It traveled through the stone like warmth, like a soft heartbeat tapping gently against the vast silence of the underworld. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the feeling settle, expand, fill the quiet around him. It was unusual, this warm ripple of life touching the cool stillness of his domain. Unusual and comforting. Persephone's presence above ground had a way of softening the world. Even from far below, her footsteps felt like gentle disturbances in the quiet tapestry of stone. And so, without urgency, without command, Hades rose toward the surface, not as a shadow, not as a figure of fear, but as someone drawn by a quiet, sincere curiosity. He emerged at the edge of the meadow just as the first golden hints of dawn touched the petals with light. Persephone sensed it, a subtle shift in the air. A calm presence. A new stillness joining the morning. She turned. Slowly. Softly. There was no alarm in her eyes. Only quiet curiosity. Hades stepped forward into view. His posture steady. His expression neutral, yet softened by the glow of dawn. His garments, dark silver and charcoal, shimmered gently in the morning light. Not harsh. Not heavy. But quietly radiant. Persephone rose from her kneeling posture near the flowers. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft, barely above the breeze. "Why do you rise from the earth?" Hades regarded her carefully, thoughtfully. His answer came slowly, wrapped in sincerity. To see the one whose footsteps bring warmth even to stone. Persephone blinked, a gentle surprise warming her features. Hades did not seem cold or distant. He radiated a quiet, unwavering stillness, a presence that felt grounded and strangely comforting. There was no command in his posture, no demand in his voice, only patience, and a steady, respectful curiosity. The flowers around them tilted subtly inward, as though sensing a gentle shift in the morning air. Persephone stepped a little closer. Just a little. Hades remained perfectly still, allowing the space to be entirely hers. Beneath them, the earth softened. A circular opening formed, smooth, inviting, lined with softly glowing stones that shone like fragments of moonlight. Hades extended his hand. Not to claim, not to command, but simply to offer. Persephone glanced at his hand, then at his eyes, steady, quiet, unthreatening. What she felt was not fear, but a calm, growing wonder. She placed her hand in his. It was cool, but not cold, like touching the surface of a tranquil river under gentle moonlight. Around them, the wind softened even further. The meadow quieted. Everything paused as though honoring the moment. Together, they stepped toward the glowing passage. The earth embraced them with slow, gentle motion, carrying them downward, not into darkness, but into a realm lit by silver light, soft crystals, and rivers that shimmered like starlight carried on flowing water. Persephone exhaled, not in fear, but in awe. The descent into the underworld was not sudden. It was slow, gentle, like floating downward through cool, shimmering air. Soft light glowed from the stones around them, a steady, silver warmth that made the path feel calm and strangely welcoming. Persephone looked upward once, watching the circle of the meadow shrink as the earth embraced them. There was no fear in her expression, only wonder, quiet and deep. Hades walked beside her, his posture composed, his steps steady and unhurried. He did not speak at first. He allowed the silence to settle comfortably between them. The tunnel widened gradually, opening into a vast chamber lit by crystals that shone like starlight captured within stone. Persephone drew in a soft breath. The air was cool, but pleasant. Still, but alive with a subtle hum that felt ancient and peaceful. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Hades glanced toward her, a subtle shift of his eyes, as though her words were unexpected yet quietly appreciated. "This is the first threshold," he said softly. "A place where souls pause to remember who they were before continuing onward." Persephone listened. The chamber did not feel sorrowful. It felt reflective, like the quiet moment before dawn fully arrives. She walked forward slowly, taking in the gentle glow of the crystals, the smooth stone under her feet, the faint echo of her own breath. Hades followed a short distance behind, giving her space to explore the world without pressure. A soft breeze drifted through the chamber, impossible, perhaps, in a place so deep beneath the earth, yet it carried the scent of something familiar, warm fig and rain. Persephone closed her eyes briefly. The sensation washed over her like a memory she had never lived yet somehow recognized. When she opened them again, they approached another passage, wide, luminous, lined with veins of crystal that pulsed gently like the heartbeat of the realm. Hades spoke in a quiet tone, careful not to disturb the calm around them. "There is more light here than the world above imagines." Persephone looked toward him once more. "You tend to this place," she said softly. It responds to you. He inclined his head slightly. Every corner of this realm was shaped by time, patience, and care. I do not rule by fear, Persephone. I simply keep watch over those who rest. She held his gaze for a long moment, long enough for something unspoken to bloom quietly between them. Then she turned again and stepped into the second hall. The floor beneath her shimmered as though moonlight were trapped within it. Above, gentle arches stretched into soft shadow. The air here was warmer, comfortable, like the embrace of late evening. A soft river flowed at the far end, a ribbon of silver water that moved with a slow, graceful rhythm. Persephone approached it, drawn by its quiet beauty. The river's surface reflected her face in soft, wavering lines, as though the water wished to show her not her form, but her spirit. Hade stood behind her, a respectful distance away. He did not interrupt the moment. He simply watched with quiet understanding. "This is the river of memory," he said eventually. "It carries the remnants of forgotten dreams and the gentle traces of what the world chooses to release." Persephone knelt at the river's edge. She reached out, but did not touch the water. She simply held her hand above it, feeling the faint warmth rising from beneath. "It doesn't feel like a place of endings," she murmured. Hade stepped closer, but slowly, as though approaching a resting bird. "It is not," he answered. "It is a place of stillness. A place where burdens grow lighter." Persephone looked up at him. The silver light from the river reflected in her eyes, making them shine softly. "You know this place well," she said. "I know it's quiet," he replied. They stood together in silence, a silence that felt full, rich, and safe. A moment later, Persephone rose. She followed the river's path as it wound through a gentle corridor carved with ancient symbols. The corridor opened into another chamber, vast, soft, and filled with a warm, golden glow. Persephone paused at the threshold, breath catching in gentle awe. "What is this place?" she asked. Hade stepped beside her. "This," he said softly, "is the garden below." Persephone stepped forward slowly, drawn into the soft, golden glow as though the light itself were welcoming her. The garden below was unlike anything she had imagined. It was vast, yet peaceful. Illuminated not by sun or flame, but by thousands of gentle lights that shimmered from the petals of luminous flowers. Each bloom swayed slightly, as if moved by a tender breeze that did not quite exist, but felt real all the same. Persephone walked deeper into the garden. The ground beneath her feet was warm, a comforting warmth that rose through her steps like quiet reassurance. The flowers glowed softly as she passed, their colors shifting with subtle grace, gold to rose, rose to lavender, lavender to a quiet blue, the shade of twilight. "It's alive," she whispered. Hades watched her, a small distance behind, his presence steady and respectful. "It grows," he said, "from the memories the world above leaves behind. Every gentle moment, every kindness, every soft grief that settles peacefully finds its way here." Persephone paused beside a cluster of pale blossoms. Their petals shimmered like distant moonlight. She lowered herself to her knees and touched one gently. It warmed beneath her fingertips, a faint, living pulse like the heartbeat of something quiet and eternal. She looked upward, toward Hades. "You care for this place," she said softly. "It responds to you." His expression softened, not visibly, but in a subtle shift that made his presence feel warmer. "I tend to what needs tending," he replied. "This place grows best when it is treated with patience." Persephone stood again, her gaze drifting across the garden. There was a calmness to the air, not empty, but full of gentle hums and quiet warmth. A small pathway of glowing stones curved through the blooms, inviting her forward. She followed it. Hades walked with her, his steps silent, yet certain. Above them, the ceiling of the garden opened into a vast dome of dim light, as though the underworld held its own sky, a sky shaped not by weather, but by memory and calm. Persephone inhaled deeply, the air filling her lungs with a cool, peaceful sweetness. She spoke after a long pause. "People fear your realm," she said quietly. "They imagine shadows and sorrow." Hades listened. He did not interrupt. "But this?" She continued, gazing at the soft lights that rippled across the garden. "This is nothing like fear." "No," he said. "It is not." They walked in silence again, but it was a gentle silence, one that felt shared, harmonious, and unforced. A soft glow brightened ahead of them, marking the entrance to yet another chamber. The light here pulsed slowly, like the rhythm of a resting heart. Persephone stopped at the threshold. Something within the glow called to her, not with urgency, but with quiet familiarity. "What is this place?" she asked. Hades' voice was low, almost tender. "This is where the underworld keeps its calmest dreams." Persephone stepped inside, her breath catching in soft, amazed stillness. The chamber of calm dreams opened around her like a quiet breath. Its walls shimmered with soft waves of silver and pale gold, as though the light here was alive and drifting, slowly, gently, in an eternal motion. Small orbs of brightness floated through the air, not bright enough to dazzle, but warm enough to soothe. Each one drifted at its own pace, like dandelion seeds carried on invisible currents. Persephone stood still, watching one of the orbs glide toward her. It hovered in front of her face, glowing faintly, pulsing softly, as if breathing. "What are they?" she whispered. Hades stepped beside her, his voice low and gentle. "Moments of peace," he said. "Dreams that never took shape. Thoughts so soft they were forgotten just as they were formed." The orb drifted downward, resting near Persephone's hand without ever touching it. She could feel the faintest warmth rising from it, a warmth that felt familiar in a way she could not name. She watched as it floated away and rejoined the quiet current of the chamber. Persephone moved deeper inside. The ground beneath her feet was smooth and cool, and each step she took echoed softly as though the chamber itself listened with care. Other orbs drifted near her, glowing in hues of lavender, dusty rose, pale blue. Their movements were slow, unhurried, like the rhythm of a lullaby being remembered. Hades walked with her, but slightly behind, as though allowing her to explore the realm without intrusion. "This is where the underworld keeps its gentlest things," he said after a while. "Not sorrow, not punishment, only rest." Persephone turned to him, her expression soft. "You keep this, too," she murmured. "You watch over it." Hades lowered his gaze slightly, a gesture not of shame, but of quiet humility. "It is easy to tend to quiet things," he said. "They ask for little, but offer much." Persephone walked onward. Her hand brushed near another orb, a soft blue one that drifted like a tiny moon lost in thought. As she passed, the orb brightened briefly. Just a flicker. A gentle acknowledgement. Persephone smiled. They reached the far end of the chamber, where a pool of shimmering water rested beneath an arch of pale stone. The water glowed softly, its surface moving with slow, rhythmic ripples as though stirred by a heartbeat deep below. Persephone knelt beside it, her reflection wavering in the silver glow. "What is this?" she asked softly. Hades approached with quiet steps. "This pool gathers the calm that lingers after dreams fade," he explained. "It is the last rest before memories return to the world." Persephone watched the ripples. They were slow, steady, peaceful. She reached out and let her fingertips touch the surface. The water felt warm, alive. A quiet pulse of comfort spread through her hand and up her arm. She closed her eyes, and not out of fear, but out of deep, settling peace. When she opened them again, the glow beneath the water had softened. She rose slowly. "It doesn't feel like a place of endings," she said. "It feels like a beginning." Hades looked at her with a steady, unreadable calm. "Some beginnings," he said softly, "start only when one learns to see differently." Persephone held his gaze. Something shifted, not in the chamber, but in the quiet space between them. Not a spark. Not a rush. Something gentler. A warmth like the first moment of early spring. She stepped closer to him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Show me more." For the first time since she had entered the underworld, Hades allowed a faint breath, almost a sigh, to pass through him. Not exhaustion. Not relief. Something quieter, like acknowledgement. He turned slightly and gestured toward a narrow path lit by tiny golden lights that hovered near the walls. "This way," he said. Persephone followed. The path curved gently, leading them toward a soft glow ahead. The air grew warmer, sweeter, filled with the faint scent of something blooming. Persephone felt it before she saw it, a warmth that curled gently around her senses. The corridor opened, slowly, into a place unlike any she had seen yet. The chamber that opened before her glowed with a soft, living warmth, a gentle radiance that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. Flowers grew along the walls, but not like the ones in the meadow above. These blossoms were luminous, their petals drifting between shades of warm gold, deep rose, and quiet amber. They released a delicate fragrance, almost like jasmine, but softer, a scent that seemed to settle in the chest and mind like a peaceful memory. Persephone stepped inside. Her breath slowed, her shoulders dropping as a calmness moved through her. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice nearly a whisper. Hades remained a step behind her, his presence steady like a shadow softened by candlelight. "A sanctuary," he said, "for those who need rest too deep for dreams." Persephone tilted her head with gentle curiosity. "Souls come here." "No," Hades replied. "This place is not for souls. It is for the realm itself." She walked deeper into the chamber. The air grew warmer as she moved, but never oppressive, only comforting. Only welcoming. Vines of faintly glowing leaves hung from the ceiling, swaying slightly as though stirred by the breath of the room. Persephone reached toward one, letting her fingers hover just beneath the light. The vine brightened softly, like a lantern responding to her presence. "It knows you," Hades said quietly. Persephone glanced back at him. "What do you mean?" His voice softened even further, almost too gentle to echo against the chamber walls. "The underworld recognizes you," he said. "More than you realize." Persephone's gaze lingered on him, studying him, searching, not for fear, but for understanding. "What is this realm trying to tell me?" she asked. Hades did not answer at once. He stepped forward, close enough that they stood beneath the same warm glow. "The underworld does not speak with words," he said. "It speaks with silence. And silence reveals things to those who listen." She absorbed this, slowly, like a soft wave settling onto shore. Persephone turned again, taking in the chamber, the warm shifting lights, the soft fragrance, the air that felt alive. "It feels..." She began, then paused to find the right word. "Familiar," she said at last. "Though I have never been here." Hades' gaze remained steady. Not everything familiar is remembered, he said. Some things are simply known. Persephone stepped forward again. A small platform of smooth stone rose from the ground, round, glowing faintly, as though lit from within. She touched the edge of it. It warmed instantly beneath her fingers. "What is this for?" she asked. Hades approached slowly, taking care not to disturb her calm. "It is where the realm rests its quietest truths," he said. "A place of reflection. A place of balance." Persephone felt something stir deep within her, not fear, not confusion, but a quiet recognition she could not name. She stepped onto the platform. The moment her foot touched the surface, a gentle pulse of light spread outward, slowly, softly, like the ripple of a calm lake. Persephone inhaled sharply, but it was not surprise. It was recognition again, something deep, wordless, echoing within her. Hades watched her closely, yet without intrusion. "What do you feel?" he asked. Persephone closed her eyes. The warmth beneath her feet rose through her body, gentle, grounding, steady as the earth itself. "I feel." She searched for the word. "As though the realm is listening." "It is," Hades said. Her eyes opened slowly. "And what does it hear?" she asked. Hades' voice was soft, nearly lost in the warm glow. "It hears someone who belongs to more than one world." Persephone's breath stilled just for a moment. Not with fear. With realization. The chamber brightened by a small degree, as though agreeing with the truth spoken aloud. Persephone looked down at the glowing platform, then at the flowers around her, then at the subtle, pulsing light of the chamber. She felt it. Without knowing how, she felt it. A connection. A resonance. A quiet thread woven through her spirit and the realm itself. She stepped off the platform, and the light dimmed to its gentle rhythm once more. "Show me the next place," she said. Hades inclined his head, a gesture of acknowledgement, but also respect. "This way," he said. They moved toward the far side of the chamber, where a soft archway waited, its edges lined with glowing petals that drifted downward like gentle snowfall. Persephone reached one hand out as they passed. A petal landed upon her palm and dissolved into warmth. The corridor ahead was darker than the others, not with fear, but with the quiet of deep contemplation. Persephone stepped forward, unafraid, and the darkness parted for her. The corridor welcomed her with a soft, muted darkness, not the kind that hides fears, but the kind that invites quiet reflection. Persephone stepped forward. The air here was cooler, still, as though the walls themselves held their breath in gentle anticipation. Small points of dim light glimmered above her, like distant stars hidden beneath layers of shadow. They flickered slowly, as if adjusting to her presence. Hades walked behind her, silent and respectful. He did not guide her forward with words or gestures. He simply allowed the realm to reveal itself at her pace. As Persephone continued, she sensed something shifting around her. The darkness was not empty. It was full of memory, full of quiet emotion, full of something softly waiting. The corridor widened into a tall, open hall where the walls were etched with gentle patterns, spirals, waves, and flowing lines that resembled wind moving across water. The designs glowed faintly as Persephone approached, as though awakened by her nearness. She lifted one hand and brushed her fingertips across a glowing line. A warmth spread beneath her touch, light, steady, almost familiar. "What is this hall?" she asked softly. Hades stepped beside her, his voice calm and measured. "This place holds echoes," he said. "Not voices, not sounds, but impressions of feelings that linger long after the world above has forgotten them. Persephone let that settle. She looked around the hall again, the flowing patterns, the faint glimmer of light, the gentle stillness. It feels... She began, searching for the word. Like the quiet after a storm. Hades inclined his head. Yes, he said. That quiet has a place here. Persephone walked farther inside. Her steps echoed softly, but not sharply, more like the slow ripple of a breeze across calm water. Everywhere she looked, the patterns responded, glowing a little brighter, a little warmer. She paused before a wide, spiral-shaped carving that pulsed gently. This one feels different, she murmured. Hades approached, but remained a step behind her. That spiral holds moments of change, he said. The quiet turning points that shift a life without anyone noticing. Persephone traced the curve of the spiral with a slow movement of her hand. It feels alive, she whispered. It is, Hades replied. Every quiet emotion that the world forgets, every soft truth spoken only once, every moment of stillness that goes unrecognized, the underworld keeps them. Persephone looked toward him. You keep them, she corrected gently. Hades did not respond immediately. His gaze drifted across the hall, not in avoidance, but in thought. I carry what must be carried, he said at last. Nothing more. Persephone stepped closer to him, not out of boldness, but out of understanding. You hold a great deal, she said softly. But you hold it quietly. Hades met her eyes. Silence settled between them, calm, deep, unrushed. Persephone turned again to the spiraled wall. The gentle glow reflected against her features, giving her the appearance of someone standing between worlds of light and shadow. She inhaled slowly, taking in the quiet warmth of the hall. It feels peaceful here, she said finally. It feels honest. Hades nodded once. This hall reveals truth, he said. But only the gentle kind. The kind that waits to be understood. Persephone touched the wall again, just lightly, and the glow pulsed in an almost rhythmic pattern. She stepped back, her gaze thoughtful. Where does this hall lead? She asked. Hades turned slowly, gesturing toward a narrow path at the far end of the chamber. A soft, silver glow leaked through the opening. To a place, he said, where the underworld keeps its oldest memories. Persephone's eyes widened slightly, not with fear, but with soft anticipation. Show me, she said. Hades inclined his head. Come. Together, they moved toward the glowing passage, Persephone's steps light and curious, Hades steady and unhurried. As they stepped through, the air shifted, warmer now, tinged with the faint scent of something ancient and sweet. The chamber that waited beyond felt older than anything she had seen yet. And it welcomed her with a gentle, timeless glow. The chamber they entered felt ancient, older than stone, older than memory, older even than the first light that touched the world above. A soft, golden haze hung in the air, illuminating dust-like motes that drifted slowly, as though time itself moved differently here. Persephone stepped forward. Her footsteps made no sound at all. The air was thick with quiet, not oppressive, but deep, the kind of quiet that holds stories too delicate to be spoken loudly. Columns of smooth, pale stone rose around her, each one carved with winding patterns that spiraled upward like climbing vines. But these carvings did not glow. They shimmered faintly, light passing through them like sunlight moving beneath deep water. What is this place? Persephone asked softly. Hades joined her side, his voice low, almost reverent. This is the archive of origins, he said. It holds the oldest memories the world ever formed. Persephone turned slowly, taking in the vast room that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. Memories? She asked. Whose memories? Hades looked at the glowing air as though the chamber itself were listening. Not of people, he said, but of moments. The first winds. The first rain. The first warmth that touched the first seed. The memories of a young world. Persephone let the words settle around her. It made sense, this feeling she had as they entered the room, a feeling not of familiarity, but of recognition, deep, instinctive, wordless. She walked between the columns. As she passed, the carvings brightened subtly, pale light sliding gently along their spirals. A soft pulse moved beneath her feet. A heartbeat ancient and slow. She paused. That feeling, she whispered. It's everywhere. Hades nodded. The underworld remembers what the world forgets. Persephone lifted her hand and rested it lightly against a tall, narrow column. A warmth flowed up her arm, not heat, but presence, like being greeted by an old friend she had never met. She exhaled slowly. Hades watched her with quiet attentiveness. Some memories, he said, call to those who are meant to hear them. Persephone closed her eyes. The warmth deepened, spreading through her chest, her ribs, her breath. When she opened them again, the column glowed faintly beneath her fingertips. What is it showing me? She asked softly. Hades stepped closer, but not too close. It shows nothing, he said gently. It simply remembers. And you feel its memory. Persephone let her hand fall. The warmth faded to a quiet pulse under the stone. She turned back to Hades. Why does this place feel like it knows me? Hades did not answer immediately. His voice, when it came, was careful, measured, deep with meaning. Because you stand between what grows and what rests, he said. You are not only spring as the world sees you. You are the quiet before life awakens. The stillness before seeds break open. The breath before creation. Persephone felt something stir in her chest, a soft recognition, a truth she had never been told, yet somehow always carried. She looked around the chamber again, at the spiraling carvings, the drifting lights, the quiet warmth. This place, she whispered, feels like the beginning of everything. Hades lowered his gaze slightly. It is one beginning, he said. And it has waited a very long time for someone who can hear it. Persephone gazed at him, softly, quietly. There was no tension between them, only the gentle hum of understanding. She walked deeper into the archive. The light shifted with her movement, bathing her in gold and soft white. At the far end of the chamber, a shallow bowl of crystal sat atop a low pedestal. Water filled it, still, silent, reflecting the glowing patterns around the room. Persephone approached. The water brightened as she neared it. What is this? She asked. Hades stood just behind her shoulder. It is the well of first light, he said. It holds the world's earliest memory of warmth, the moment light first touched the surface of the earth. Persephone leaned closer. The water shimmered softly. She felt it in her breath, in her chest, in her pulse. May I touch it? She asked. Hades' response was barely above a whisper. If the light calls to you, it will welcome you. Persephone reached out slowly, her fingers hovering just above the glowing surface. The water rippled, softly, warmly, as if greeting her. She touched it. Light flared, not bright, not startling, but soft, like the warmth of dawn spreading across new earth. Persephone closed her eyes. She felt something awaken, not outside her, but within. The water stilled. The glow softened. Persephone opened her eyes again, slowly. Her voice was quiet. Steady. I understand, she whispered. Hades looked at her for a long, silent moment. Then he nodded once. Then it is time, he said softly, to show you what comes next. They left the Archive of Origins through a narrow passage that curved gently downward, carved from smooth stone that glowed in faint, warm ripples. The air shifted as they walked. It grew cooler, not cold, just calm. Settling. Quiet. Persephone felt the change immediately, as though the realm itself had exhaled and invited her deeper. Soft echoes drifted through the corridor, not voices, not whispers, more like the distant sound of a gentle tide coming to rest. Hades walked a little ahead now, his posture still steady, still composed, yet touched by a careful awareness of her presence behind him. He paused at the threshold of a wide, open chamber. Light moved within it, slow, circular light, as though the room held a visible breath. Persephone stepped beside him. Her gaze softened. "What is this place?" she asked quietly. Hades' answer came in a low, measured tone. "This is the Hall of Echoing Paths," he said. "It is where the underworld keeps every possibility that never came to pass." Persephone looked out over the chamber. Strands of light drifted through the air, thin, wavering ribbons that glowed in muted gold and gentle blue. Each ribbon moved with a slow, tidal rhythm, curling and bending like soft waves. Persephone stepped forward and watched as one ribbon drifted closer. She lifted her hand. The ribbon floated near her fingertips, close enough to touch, yet holding a respectful distance. "What are they showing?" she asked. Hades approached slowly, his voice calm and thoughtful. "They are not memories," he said. "And they are not dreams. They are the quiet paths a life might have taken, the gentle branches never chosen." Persephone's breath caught softly in her chest. She watched another ribbon drift past, its surface flickering with faint shadows of moments she could not name. "Do they belong to the living?" she asked. Hades shook his head slightly. "They belong to the world," he said. "The world imagines many shapes for itself, but only a few become real." Persephone reached toward a ribbon glowing softly in pale silver. When she drew close, its glow brightened in quiet recognition. She did not touch it. She simply watched its slow, rhythmic motion. "It feels," she whispered, "gentle. Not lost. Just resting." Hades regarded her with a steady calm. "Yes," he said. "Every unchosen path rests here. Not forgotten, not mourned, simply set aside with peace." Persephone exhaled, long and slow. The chamber felt vast, but not empty. It felt full of quiet possibilities that drifted like soft tides through the air. She stepped deeper into the hall. A ribbon of light curved toward her, a warm, golden one that pulsed slowly. She watched it, feeling something in her chest respond in turn. "Does each path belong to someone?" she asked. Hades followed her gaze. "No," he said quietly. "Most paths belong to time itself. But some—" He paused, studying the golden ribbon. "Some choose whom they follow." Persephone turned to him. "Choose," she repeated softly. "Yes." "How?" Hades looked at her with a calm stillness. "By resonance," he said. "When a spirit moves with a certain rhythm, when a heart beats in a certain way, the paths that match it brighten." Persephone gazed again at the golden ribbon. It glowed gently as she stood before it, as though attuned to the quiet breath she took. She stepped closer. The ribbon swayed, responding. Persephone lifted her hand just a little. The ribbon leaned toward her in a slow, warm arc. She felt something then, a soft tug, a subtle recognition, a quiet echo in her chest. "What does this one mean?" she whispered. Hades approached behind her, his presence steady. "It means," he said softly, "that the world once imagined a path for you that has not yet found its voice." Persephone's breath slowed. She did not touch the ribbon, but she watched the way it pulsed with a warm, familiar glow. "It's beautiful," she said quietly. "It is," Hades replied. The ribbon drifted upward again, joining the others in their slow, wave-like motion. Persephone turned to look around the chamber. Every strand felt like a soft possibility, resting peacefully in the stillness of the hall. "This place," she murmured, "feels tender." Hades nodded once. "It holds the gentlest parts of fate," he said. "The paths that never harmed, never frightened, never demanded. Only waited." Persephone touched her chest lightly, feeling her heartbeat, slow and steady. "Where does this hall lead?" she asked. Hades gestured toward a soft opening on the far side, a doorway framed by 2 tall pillars of pale stone. "To a place few have seen," he said. Persephone moved toward it. The ribbons of light shifted as she passed, as though offering a silent farewell. She stepped through the archway. The chamber beyond was brighter, warmer, filled with a soft glow that reminded her of early dawn. Hades followed her inside, and the underworld itself seemed to grow quieter, as though preparing for something important. The chamber they entered felt warmer than any place Persephone had seen in the underworld. Not hot, but warm in a way that settled deep into the chest. A warmth like memory, like breath, like something alive. Soft light rippled along the walls, moving slowly as though the chamber itself were breathing in long, gentle rhythms. Persephone stepped forward. "What is this place?" she asked. Hades walked beside her, his voice quiet and steady. "This is the Hall of Becoming," he said. "It is where the underworld keeps the truths that have not yet taken form." Persephone looked around. Small points of light hovered near the ceiling, not like the drifting orbs she had seen before, but brighter, sharper, as though filled with intention. They pulsed softly in slow, deliberate intervals. "What does it mean?" she asked. Hades' gaze followed one of the bright points of light as it drifted downward in a slow arc. "Becoming is different from possibility," he said. "Possibility may never take root, but becoming is already beginning." Persephone's breath softened. She watched as one of the bright points descended toward her and hovered at eye level. It pulsed gently, a glow like gold warming beneath water. "What is this one?" Persephone asked. Hades studied it carefully. "That," he said, "is a truth that is forming around you." Persephone turned sharply, not with fear, but with deep, quiet attention. "A truth," she repeated. "Yes," Hades said. "Something within you is shifting. Something that has not yet found its shape, but soon will." Persephone watched the light. It pulsed once, twice, slowly, as though listening to her heartbeat. She raised her hand, letting it hover just beneath the glowing point. It brightened. A soft warmth moved across her palm. "What is it telling me?" she whispered. Hades' voice was almost tender. "That the realm is recognizing your place here." Persephone lowered her hand, the glow dimming to a gentle pulse. "My place?" she murmured, "in the underworld." "Yes," he said. Persephone looked around again. Each point of light held a soft glow, not random, not scattered, but arranged in a subtle pattern across the chamber. It reminded her of constellations just beginning to form. "This place feels..." She paused, searching, as though something important is being decided here. Hades nodded once. Not decided, he said. Revealed. Persephone stepped deeper into the chamber. A soft hum moved beneath her feet, the ground vibrating in slow, steady waves. She felt it rise through her body, a gentle resonance that settled behind her ribs. She placed her hand over her heart. It's warm, she whispered. The realm, Hades said, is aligning with you. Persephone turned to him. What does that mean? Hades held her gaze, steady, quiet, unwavering. It means, he said slowly, that you were never meant to belong to only one world. Silence fell, a deep, peaceful silence. Persephone did not look away. Tell me, she said, her voice soft but steady. Hades stepped closer, though not too close. Enough for his presence to feel grounding. The world above, he said, sees you as the bringer of spring, the one who awakens life. She nodded. But spring, Hades continued, cannot exist without rest, without stillness, without the quiet that prepares the earth to bloom again. Persephone's breath caught softly. Hades went on. You are not only the beginning, he said. You are also the gentle pause before beginnings. Persephone felt something shift within her, a quiet realization, warm and steady. She turned her gaze toward the bright points of light hovering above. They pulsed slowly, as though acknowledging her. Is this why the realm feels familiar? She asked. Yes, Hades said. Because part of you has always belonged to the quiet beneath the world. Persephone let the words sink into her. The warmth of the hall, the slow glow of forming truths, the steady hum beneath her feet, everything felt suddenly clearer. Not absolute, not fully known, but understood in the way a seed understands the soil. She stepped forward. The lights reacted, brightening in slow, even waves that rippled around her. A path revealed itself, a narrow walkway lined with soft, golden light. Persephone turned to Hades. What lies ahead? She asked. His voice lowered, a quiet strength within it. The final chamber, he said. The heart of this realm. Persephone inhaled slowly. The air tasted warm, sweet, alive. I'm ready, she whispered. Hades inclined his head. They walked together along the glowing path. As they approached the far end of the hall, the chamber beyond brightened, not with sharpness, but with a warm, dawning glow. The final light of the underworld waited for them, and it welcomed her with a soft, gentle warmth. The chamber at the end of the glowing path opened slowly before them, not with grandeur, not with force, but with the soft, unfolding warmth of a dawn rising behind closed eyes. Persephone stepped inside. The air here was unlike anything she had felt before, warm, gentle, quiet, with a stillness that wrapped around her like a soft embrace. Light drifted through the room in slow, flowing currents. Not harsh, not bright, just warm and steady like the gentle glow that follows the first breath of morning. At the center of the chamber rested a tree. Its trunk glowed with pale, silvery warmth. Its branches stretched upward with graceful ease, and its leaves, soft, luminous leaves, shifted in color from gold to faint rose to quiet blue. Persephone approached it slowly. What is this tree? She asked. Hades stood beside her, his voice soft but carrying a deep, timeless calm. This is the root of rest, he said. It is the heart of the underworld. Every quiet moment, every peaceful memory, every gentle ending is held here. Persephone reached toward the tree, pausing just before touching it. The leaves trembled softly, as though greeting her. A warm breath of air moved through the chamber, slow, steady, full of quiet recognition. Persephone let her fingers brush the edge of a leaf. It warmed instantly. Light flowed upward through the branches, a delicate shimmer that spread like ripples across a still lake. She exhaled. Her breath felt clearer, softer, as though the realm had breathed with her. "This place," she whispered. "It feels like the world's heartbeat." Hades nodded once. "It is the rhythm beneath all rhythms." Persephone closed her eyes. She felt it, the quiet pulse of the tree, the gentle hum beneath the ground, the warmth of the air as it wrapped around her. Everything she had seen, the gardens, the rivers, the memories, the possibilities, led here. To stillness, to rest, to balance, to understanding. When she opened her eyes again, Hades watched her with calm patience. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked softly. "I did not bring you," Hades said. "You walked. I simply showed the path." Persephone considered this and nodded. The tree shimmered again, slowly, like a sigh of contentment. "The realm knows you," Hades said. "It has known you long before you ever stepped inside it." Persephone touched the bark again. Warmth flowed through her. "What does it want from me?" she asked. Hades shook his head gently. "Not want," he said. "Recognition. You bring renewal to the world above. Life. Awakening. But even renewal needs rest." Persephone listened. Hades continued. "You are spring, yes. But you are also the quiet moment before spring. The stillness that allows life to begin." Persephone felt something settle inside her, soft, warm, like a truth returning home. She turned to Hades. "What does this mean for me?" she asked. Hades held her gaze. "It means," he said quietly, "that you are not leaving the world above. And you are not bound to remain below. You belong to both." Persephone breathed slowly. The chamber dimmed slightly, as though mirroring her calm, steady heartbeat. The root of rest glowed with soft warmth. "What happens now?" she asked. Hades looked toward the shimmering branches. "Now," he said, "the realm accepts you. Not as a visitor. Not as a wanderer. But as part of its quiet rhythm." Persephone stepped closer. She placed her palm against the trunk of the tree. Light flowed outward, slow, gentle waves that brushed the chamber walls with soft color. The warmth rose through her hand, her arm, her chest, settling deep within her core. She felt balanced, rooted, whole, like she had found the missing half of something she had never known was incomplete. She turned to Hades again. His expression was not stern nor sorrowful, but calm, understanding, grounded. "This realm holds you gently," he said. Persephone nodded. "And I hold it," she replied quietly. Hades bowed his head slightly. Outside the chamber, a soft wind moved through the halls, a wind that did not exist, yet felt real. A wind that carried the quiet hum of a realm at peace. Persephone stepped away from the tree. "I think," she said softly, "I am ready to return." Hades met her eyes. He did not question. He did not guide. He simply offered a single nod. "As you wish," he said. He turned toward the path that would lead her upward, toward the gardens, the rivers, the quiet halls, and eventually the meadow above. Persephone walked beside him. Their steps echoed softly against the glowing stone. Not loudly, not sharply, just gently, like two rhythms falling into harmony. As they approached the first chamber of their descent, the soft light began to dim into a warm twilight. Persephone paused. She looked once more at the quiet realm stretching behind her, a vast, peaceful, full of gentle truths. She felt it, the connection woven quietly through her spirit. A connection that would remain. She turned back to Hades. "Thank you," she whispered. Hades lowered his head in a gesture of quiet acknowledgement. "You walk both worlds now," he said, "and both will welcome you." Persephone stepped into the soft light. The underworld held its breath, not in fear, but in calm farewell. And as she rose toward the meadow above, the quiet warmth of the realm followed her, a gentle echo, lingering softly. Like the last glow of twilight before night becomes still,